like I make decisions, informed decisions on what I think will work, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like if somebody asks me what this next record's going to be or look like, it's kind of just like this fuzzy thing in the ether that like I can feel it sitting here and like I'm putting songs together, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So
Stu, thank you so much for your time today. Helldorado is coming soon, very soon as we're talking. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I think we got a week. It'll be out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
21st. Excited. Been a
does
long
that
time coming. It's like a slow drip on your faucet, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Slowly
yeah, yeah,
lose
yeah.
your mind with every little plop in the sink.
Yeah, yeah. Does that mean that because obviously, I mean, most people will now know that an album is not recorded, a week before it comes out. You've been sitting on this for a while. Um, Is that just a comment that you make on like the anxiety of getting it out, or are you somebody that like the longer this takes, the more you go back to your own material and go like, I should do this and I should fix this, and or like, is there a danger of getting into like a Chinese democracy situation with you?
Not that bad. Like that's on the far end of the psychotic, spectrum. But yeah, I like to make stuff and it's kind of like you're walking on the razor's edge because when you get
Hmm.
excited, you're inspired and you make something, like that energy pushes you for a while. And then when you collaborate and start tracking guitars and drums and things, and that's exciting. And so each thing like kind of gives you another lift or a push. But um, I was just talking about this with one of my bandmates, and it like some of these songs, I mean, it's been like I was writing these, it's been 2 years, 2.5 years,
Yeah.
So like there's I can't listen to this stuff anymore and I can't think about it. So it gets to the point where for me, I really nowadays I feel like people's attention span in general of consuming any
Hmm.
sort of art is way quicker than it ever has been. Short form pieces do well for a reason because you're just constantly blowing through stuff. So for me, I think I'm kind of stuck in that antiquated thing where it's like you do a record, you tour off it. And to me, it seems like it should be truncated. And I like making records the most. So I feel like for Helldorado to come out is like a big achievement. I'm like, yes, great.
Hmm.
But also in the back of my mind, it's like, I want to cut this like gestation period down
Yeah.
by
The cycle.
half. And like I'm a pretty prolific writer, and so I kind of look back. I've been looking at a lot of folks from the '60s and '70s back through their catalog, and just like back then, it wasn't too crazy for somebody to be turning out full lengths every year, if not multiple
Yeah, yeah,
albums
for
every
sure.
year.
Multiple albums a year. Absolutely.
And with all the stuff I want to do, I'm kind of like looking at that model of if you have the songs and you can get the time to be in a studio, I feel like that's something that looks pretty appealing.
Yeah. Now, unlike the 60s, people today do also think a little bit more about their own mental state and their own mental health. Um, if you were in a cycle where you were basically non-stop releasing, writing, recording, releasing, writing, recording, releasing, is that a dangerous spot for you to be in as well? Like, would you go
Mm,
into a state where you have no more time off at all, no time to calm down? Is that is because
well,
it sounds like you're a bit of a workaholic. Do you need people to tell you to take a break?
I guess that's a good question, but I'm not I guess the way I feel about it is like I work a day job, like I got an old lady, I got a couple pets. Like my mom got sick last year, my dad died, she moved in, so I wear a lot of hats and do a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
to me, like most people would see my schedule and the amount of responsibility and the things that I'm doing, and like, yeah, it probably wouldn't be good for their mental health. They'd probably shut down. But I guess kind of the way I grew up, it's like you get up early, put your steel toe boots on, and go to work. So to me,
Yeah.
maybe replacing some of that energy that I'm doing with more creative, artistic stuff that's
Yeah.
exciting, I think would give me a lift. And even if I'm not if I'm not in a studio properly creating a record, I'm still writing
Yeah.
stuff. At least for the last probably 4 or 5 years, I've really carved out time where it's just something I do and it's almost like a meditative thing. So to me, it doesn't feel like it's like that cliche of if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life a little bit.
Yeah.
So to me, if I can shut the door and put my phone on silent and just play guitar for an hour, that's pretty good. Some days that's as good as the day gets. You know what I mean? Like that's a highlight
Hmm.
of life sometimes. So no, I don't know. I just think for engagement of I just feel like if you're on a heater and you're very creative and you're making stuff, I just think it sucks to have to wait. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
waiting for things that I'm not sure there's a value, right? So I had this record written and it was done like last April, pretty much. And then because I was waiting anyways, then I went back in and changed some stuff. But had it been able to come out, say in June, this could have been out almost a year before. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
then, at least for me, maybe it's selfishly, I think I'd be a lot more excited about the material rather than looking back trying to remember how I felt about something
Oh,
that I
sure.
did 2 years ago. You know?
In our world, in the world of rock and metal music, the third album is the number of the beast. It is the Master of Puppets. It almost is like there's this pressure on it that it has to be like the defining sound of a band, and you allow the band to be more adventurous even than we've seen before. Um, are you able, as people like me are forcing you to look back on this album now and do some reflection? Um, do you feel like you got that down? Like, is this, for at least where we are, the defining sound of the band? Are you happy with that achievement?
Um, I don't think it is. I think the one I'm working on right now is like another step to this.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe at one point I felt like I think maybe I was shooting for that, but for me, what I really was trying to capture, I think this is gonna be I think will be maybe the fourth record will be the one that I'll look
Okay.
back and be like, I think that's where I put this whole
It
thing
all came
together.
together. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the honest answer because I think I was pushing to try to do some different stuff on this, and I think I opened a door, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I'm still figuring some stuff.
You haven't fully decided which door to jump through, basically.
Yeah, and I just I bought a lap steel guitar, and I'm just playing with so many things right now, and the stuff I'm writing, and I feel like Helldorado and whatever this next one are will kind of be held up as oh well, this is like a clear
Yeah,
step of the
next
band, you
step.
know?
Yeah, yeah. Is
Yeah.
it in that process, like, is there stuff that is just too left field or the lines in the sand? Because just looking at the posters behind you, we see anything from Behemoth to Nick Cave. So there's a lot of influences, and I mean, there's obviously a clear love for 80s thrash and hardcore, and maybe even specifically New York hardcore in
Yeah.
your sound. But as you're saying, like, oh, I tried to open a few doors, but are there things that you go like, okay, well, this is too crazy? Knowing, and
I
I've heard the full album, so I know some of the curveballs that you're throwing on this album. So
yeah,
I know that.
I don't ever think this is crazy. I kind of just think when I write stuff for I just feel like I try to get in a vibe, and
Yeah,
then this genre or the style or the different Helldorado has some pretty intense heavy stuff and then some stuff that's a completely different texture. So to me it's I don't really think about stuff being crazy, but I do think about, can I make this work in like a cohesive album where you can play it start to finish? So there are a lot of stuff that I do where I'm like, this is really cool, but I can't wrap my head around how
Right.
it's usable. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing with incorporating all these different ideas that is, I'm having a lot of fun with, because right now I have a lot of ideas that I think are working. And so we'll see what happens. And
Yeah, yeah,
Helldorado is totally different than probably like the original like start of the demo process to what it ended up being. I'd say it took a pretty hard left turn, you know?
yeah.
And so I
Okay.
kind of don't like, I also, I want to give myself space too to be like, if I'm excited about something, then go do it. And
Yeah,
I don't like the idea, like, I'm a punk rock kid. I'm not into having rules of being like, I can only do this or that. Like, that is not interesting to me at all. It's more so like just pushing myself to do things that are interesting. And like you said, I love music. I love a lot of different styles. And so I'm not, and I think this day and age, I'm really blessed that people aren't as narrow minded and
yeah,
quite so, throttling of somebody that kind of gets a little weird. Because I don't get embarrassed. Like when I hear people trying new stuff and they do it, like
yeah,
a lot of times I tend to gravitate. The older I get, the more I gravitate towards somebody that you can tell is just doing something that is unique to their creative impulse. You know what I mean? Rather than somebody that's like you
yeah.
said, they a third record and that's a sound, and so now that's what they do. You know?
I've drank my fill of the blood of the crime. I see the type of ultimate with real faith.
Has it then been a bit of a positive surprise for you to see that, especially obviously with the previous album coming out of Century Media and all of a sudden a lot more exposure to more people and really cool tours that you were a part of? Not to mention the tours that you're gonna be part of, which are really insane. Um, but a lot of people are digging what you're doing. And for me, like I grew up in I was a teenager in the '90s. So when I, pushed play on the first time that I got the advanced copy for Helldorado, I'm like, okay, great. I'm hearing Blood for Blood meets Slayer, basically, in a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and that resonated to me because I was really into that kind of hardcore in the mid '90s. But you say like, oh, I'm not sure if 10 years ago was the right time. People seem to be very open minded now. Was it still a bit of a surprise to go like, hey, people are really gravitating towards that? And I know obviously a theme or I don't know, well, a certain brand that you definitely have embraced, that can work both ways, right? That could be both limiting and a little bit like people maybe have ideas about your band before even people listen to it, but it also helps you
Yeah.
really to stand out. Like, was it like a moment when these albums, when the first album, it's like definitely the last album came out, they go like, okay, people are listening, people are taking it seriously, people are reacting to it? Was that a bit of a okay, even if you're a punk rock kid that doesn't care what other people think and likes to do their own
Yeah.
thing?
I mean, it's cool. Like the opportunities, because it's not like an aha moment, like you feel validated because,
Right.
like, I like what I like. And also for every person that, although Spirit World's like in the underground scene, seemingly capturing some attention and like there's a groundswell of people champion like what I do, like most of the people in my life that I kick it with, like you're a very like small minority of people that grew up in the 90s that have high command long sleeves and listen to Blood for Blood. Like I expect a dude like you will totally like understand what I'm doing and
Right.
probably pretty be like me. Like this would be my favorite band if I heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I think the aha moment for me is just really realizing that I can create these things with zero, like I don't have to put any thought into calculating where do I go from here? What do I do to make somebody like attract? I only do what I think is cool. And by
Hmm.
doing that, opportunities keep presenting themselves, and it just validates the thing of that feeling I get of like playing a riff, and it reminds me of like this nostalgic thing of like listening to like an old prong record or like a hardcore album, and like these things that I do where I'm like, that shit's cool and it's
Yeah.
fun to create and write stuff and pay homage to bands. But then because I'm doing this in a way where a lot of it is just me by myself and like isolation, like making stuff. And then the fact that it gets out and people dig it, and then we get to go do shit like, go tour with Obituary, Nails, and Terror, and like that kind of stuff is the aha moment where I'm just like in the van hanging out with my brother and some of my best friends, and we're just like playing Toronto or Montreal. You go eat like maker pie and fucking you're leaving after this huge show in this beautiful theater that like most of my life I've been hanging out in basement shows and VFW
Right.
halls, and then to be a band that plays stuff on that level, rubbing shoulders with like career bands, and that's the stuff where it's kind of hard to believe, really.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Because it
Yeah.
seems like there's so many like things you're supposed to do. Like a band like us is supposed to have all quit our jobs after Pagan Rhythms or Death Western and just been grinding in the van playing 5, 10, 15 people and building this grassroots. And I don't have an interest in stuff like that. Like I like my life. You brought up mental health, and as I am admittedly a bit of a workaholic, I do pick what I want to spend my time doing.
Right.
And so the fact that I'm able to do this, and I only have like I make decisions, informed decisions on what I think will work, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like if somebody asks me what this next record's going to be or look like, it's kind of just like this fuzzy thing in the ether that like I can feel it sitting here and like I'm putting songs together, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So it's cool to like, I think it's just knowing that I can pour time and energy into
Yeah.
things. And the return is like, you can't control it. So if you get good energy coming back, like, I think that's a pretty incredible, like,
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There is nothing left in this world, just a pestilence. So
As you were talking about, like how basically for you, kind of in a very organic way, your sound kind of came to be based on what you like to do and focus on that. And you say, like, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. You can't control a bunch of stuff. But then the fact that you also go all in on the look of the band and whatnot, those are choices you do make, right? Because you could make the exact same music
Yeah.
and play the way that we could be on stage right now playing playing a punk or a metal show. Was there?
Yeah.
You said it was not necessarily an aha moment for you, like creating this sound. Aha moments for sure to see that, oh shit, this is happening, and I have to pinch myself that I'm playing these crazy shows.
Yeah.
Was building that brand as similarly organic, or what was there that moment they go like, you know what, if we're gonna do this, we have to like really do this. We have to make sure that we look the part. We have to make sure that our artwork is refined, if you will, right? Like, was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, 100%. Like those are the things I can control, but I don't do it from a space of being like, if we're going to do it, we need an image, we need all this, because then if we have that, it's easier to market to festival shows. And like those considerations aren't things that I really care to think about. But what I do think about is if everything goes right and I can play music for the next like 25 years, like what do I want to do? And I want to be able to play heavy metal on the grandest stage, like the bands that I go and see that are playing arena shows and headlining festivals, where when they come out, you have like a huge stage show and it's theatrical and it combines all these like really fucking explosive elements. So it's like, if I'm going to do a band like that, what would actually be authentic to me that I could do, that I would love in 20 years, and I wouldn't be standing up there like cringing and being like, this is cool to play this show, but like, you know what I'm saying? And so to me, like heavy metal has this long, beautiful history of people like tapping different influences and concept records, and like some people go like fantasy and like D&D, like High Command, but then there's people that do, Viking metal. And so for me, like I grew up, in a family where people rodeo and listen to country music and hunt and fish, and like I love westerns and horror music. So to me, like it was intentional to be like, okay, if I frame it up with this, these are all interests that I could like spend a lot of time like writing books, making
Mm-hmm.
films, doing records. Like that seems like something I could do for a long time. And if it takes off, like careful what you wish for. So I do like
Yeah.
I did all of that stuff intentional. So 100%. But I don't know. So I know what I'm doing, but on one hand, you don't know what you're going to make because
Right.
like you have the idea, but like it's hard to explain. It's like I saw the cover art of Helldorado in my head, and it's because of a painting that has just kind of haunted my life that I've just always seen. And like this guy, Frank Tenney Johnson, did all these like nocturne paintings, and there's a bunch of them with very similar color tones. And it's this, cowboy sitting, smoking a cigarette, and like you see the light of it. And so, like, that's been in my head. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
would have been like a novel artwork, or you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've been attached to that. And then I handed it over to James and I put the logo on it. And now it's like kind of a skeleton ghoul. But like, that is something that probably since I was like 12 years old has like been living kind of rent
Yeah.
free in my head. And so for it to manifest now in 2025, like, how do you explain that to somebody? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's kind of weird, but that's art, How does
There you
anybody
go.
do anything?
There you go. And we'll have a lot of cool merch with that particular image coming at us with the tour coming up. You already mentioned the tour to wrap us up. You're playing Toronto again. If I remember correctly, it's May 10 that you're playing. So that means that the next morning, the Sunday morning, a bunch of us will be hungover for Mother's Day. But
That's our
uh,
gift to all the mothers up
there,
there in the
there you
great.
go. There you go. I'll keep my fingers crossed that for that song. I mean, we got obviously a couple of cool singles. I do obviously want to hear you guys play. Which one is it? The Bird Song of Death, which gives me a bit of a Social Distortion vibe. But I really hope that we can hear "Waiting for the Reaper" live, and I hope that you guys are rehearsing that one.
Yeah,
Because for
that's
me,
in the
that
set for sure. I have
awesome.
the, what are we playing? I've been
There you
playing,
go.
relearning all the songs. So we're playing
Awesome.
just nothing but ass beaters. So a lot of, looks
I
like
feel
half
that
and
that song is like
Northwestern
you guys even like
Eldorado.
taking some of that torch of Power Trip and carrying that forward.
Yeah,
Really
no
cool
power
stuff.
trip. There wouldn't be a Spirit World, man. Like me and Riley, that was a very important band to me, like
Yeah,
friendship level and everything. Like I
yeah,
said, if I were to hear Spirit World, would be my favorite band. Just like when Power Trip first did their demo, and my buddies over at Double or Nothing Records sent it to me, I was like, "Who are these kids?" And
exactly.
I didn't realize that I knew Riley back then too. So it's one of them things. Being a little older than them in the scene, it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
like, "What is this? Holy shit!"
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that friendship has found its way on this album, for sure, for sure. So I can't wait to hear you guys play that song and all the other songs that you just showed. Awesome. Everybody's screenshotting this in the meantime, and putting that already
Yeah,
out
I
there.
mean, whatever. I don't keep secrets. I don't care what we play, and we
There
only
you go.
print these things because like my girl is a rail rider. She likes to go to shows, and if it's her band, like even though we're getting old as fuck, like she still wants to get up there and get a set list and like catch a Mike Ness pick and shit. And
For
so as
sure.
bad as like, my feet and back hurt, like she will tour with us and has busted our balls so bad, being like, why don't you need set lists? And we're like, set lists are fucking whack. We play the songs like I don't like to stop. Like, what do you need a set? She's like, it's not for you.
There
Just
you
tape
go.
it there and then give it to the rail rider. Like it's a part of the And it's funny because stuff like that
It's part of
sometimes
the contract that you have with your fans.
yeah, my head is so far up my own ass because like I'm not a rail rider. I hate it. The only reason I do it is if I have to be up there with her, you know. My personal opinion, I'm like, fuck your set list, you know, like I'm ready to get the hell out of here. But that being said,
but in reality, you're bent over with your flashlight looking for those guitar picks.
yeah, and now I'll print like 90 of these and pack them around for 6 weeks just so we can have them to throw out to whoever the rail rider that needs it, you know.
There you go. But hey,
Right, it's a social contract.
It's a contract.
You know?
Like those folks, maybe especially in North America, maybe they spent 6 hours getting to your show and to be there early and be there to listen to see every movement you make. And yeah, I know a few of those myself. they're
I respect
ardent.
the game,
They're ardent.
Like I respect the rail rider more than like the stage potato guest list guy. You know, if you're doing like the hierarchy of where you get the respect, I got to say the guy that gets there at like load in for the bands just to be on the rail, like psychotic fan behavior, you know, like so much love. Nothing but respect, you know.
There you go. There you go. Well, Stu, it was a pleasure talking to you. I can't wait to see you in Toronto. I hope that this crazy cycle of press that forces you to think back on your own album that you already forgot about is not too brutal, but you've got more Disney Princess coffee that can fuel you. So
I know I got another interview popping up right here. Just refill the mug. Let's go.
There you go.
But yeah, thanks for taking the time, man. Like,
my pleasure, man.
I'm very happy people fuck with our stuff, you know?
There you go. Stu, thank you so much. We'll see you in Toronto in a few weeks from now, really. Have so much fun in this cycle. I hope you can enjoy it. And then we can talk about the next album when you've played these shows. See you next time.
All right. Thank you.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.